We got hit with the second wave, and we locked down pretty hard again after that. So basically, between March 16th and only until a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, we've been really strictly locked down, between stage 3 and stage 4 lockdown. So yeah, really only leaving the house to get groceries or a little bit of exercise. We had like limits on how much you could travel. So for a while there, we could only leave within 5 kilometers of our home. You obviously couldn't have anyone over except for your partner, but like you couldn't have your parents over, for example. And then we had a curfew for a while of 8 p.m. as well. So yeah, people were going a bit stir crazy. Like just anecdotally, a lot of the people that I spoke with were really, really unhappy actually with our state premier's leadership and how strictly he'd been locking us down for comparatively lower cases than we were seeing overseas, for example. But clearly it's worked. I mean, for the last couple of weeks, I think it's over 2 weeks now, we've had 0 cases. And I'm pretty sure all of Australia recently had 3 or 4 days in a row where we had 0 as well. So yeah, we're slowly opening up again.
That's what's happening on the streets of Melbourne.
So can you see that?
I can, yeah.
Well, that's the Yarra that runs through the middle of we call it the Central Business District, CBD, but it's downtown. So the core of downtown Melbourne, basically.
Oh,
you can see
cool.
the coast there. So, I mean, a couple minutes ago, I saw some rowers rowing down, teams practicing, a lot more foot traffic and vehicle traffic as well. I mean, 3 months ago when we were in stage 4, it was like a dead zone.
You're currently on vacation?
Yeah, I took the Friday, Monday, had a long weekend because it was my birthday on Saturday. But also, yeah, the first kind of opportunity to actually get out of the city for several months now. So
wow. So how does it feel to kind of be out of Melbourne for the first time in like months for you?
Yeah, it's really good, especially because I live in the city and it's just been kind of, what's the word? It's been really dead, very quiet.
How would you say people in Auckland responded to the restrictions, particularly the lockdown?
Yeah, so studies are starting to come out now that definitely it still took its toll kind of mentally. There was a spike in mental health cases and people calling helplines. The isolation was definitely real. I think in March though, because it was just new everywhere and we didn't know what the virus could and couldn't do, that there was this, we are all in this together. And the Prime Minister said, that we're a team of 5 million, which is the population. And if we all just kind of chip in and help out, we can get through. And I think because of the success of the first lockdown, people were a little bit more receptive when we had to do it again in Auckland a second time. So we have a various alert level systems. So it's kind of like there's various provinces that have different colors there. So we're right now in the lowest one, which is alert level 1. You largely can kind of move around without restrictions. That being said, there are a couple community cases right now that they very quickly isolated. So there's a bit of nervousness going on because it's not like we're completely COVID free at the moment. But in terms of just day-to-day life, you can kind of do everything as usual. The government did just announce today, though, they're going to make masks mandatory on public transport. So that's something that just was announced here, and that's for Auckland only right now. But aside from that, it's kind of business as usual.
Tell me what you did yesterday.
So yesterday I went to my first ever Aotearoa Music Awards, and it used to be called the New Zealand Music Awards. This is the first time that they went under Aotearoa Music Awards. Basically, it was, there's probably about 1,000 or 2,000 people in an arena, and we got to see an award show like you would normally see. Bands performed, it was live television. And then afterwards, I went with a friend and my wife to the after party. So then a bunch of us just hung out, danced, had a good time.
What is life like in Brisbane right now after the lockdown and after being able to hit 0 COVID cases daily? What is life like?
Look, it's actually pretty normal right now. I'm sorry to say that. It's actually pretty normal. So we can't travel outside of the state, but we're still going camping. We see friends. There aren't many people wearing masks. We're still having, COVID tracing when we go to restaurants. There's still social distancing. So people have adopted the new behaviors of what's required. But life in terms of the way that we're managing is quite normal, other than working from home. We're still working from home. I run my own business here and the team really enjoyed it. And it's enabled us to actually hire more broadly.
For you, Sarah, was the lockdown all worth it?
The lockdown for me was worth it because it was the health of the people first. And yes, we had to also manage that with the economy. It was worth it for me because I saw the effects of what happens when the science and the evidence says social distancing, understanding the contact tracing. Yeah, you see the results, right? Like we have people over in the weekend having a barbecue, and it is quite normal.
Could you see us here in Ontario with a lockdown? Do you think it would work for Ontario?
If you're going to do lockdown, then you have to look at all the infrastructure, the support mechanisms, working from home in terms of different households. Lifestyle violence against women has risen. You know, there's all these other variables at stake. So to say lockdown, whether or not it would be successful there's a lot of different communities, migrant, immigrant, refugee communities that we need to consider. And so the answer is, I don't know. I think as long as the community and the government and all layers of the system are working towards what that means to say lockdown, but have systems in place to support the different types of communities, then yes, we've seen the evidence of lockdown can be effective, but it hasn't come without its challenges as well.